Hi, I'm Susan Rutledge, and we're going to have some fun in this video because I'm going to show you how I created an art brush to make the pieces to create this pattern brush that you see here on the screen in Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to be using a number of tools, and you can use those not only in making pattern brushes and art brushes, but in a lot of your other projects. So stick with me and hopefully you'll learn something new. Let's move to a document where I already have these two samples that we're going to use to create the two brushes. First, I'm going to make this top piece, which we'll use for the art brush. So I'll go to the left toolbar, press down on the rectangle tool for a flyout menu, get the ellipse tool, and click on the artboard to open the ellipse dialog box. And I'm going to type in 4 inches for the width, tab down and type 1 inch for the height, and say OK. Then I'll fill the ellipse with black, and I'm going to remove the stroke color. And then I want a pointed edge on the left. So I'll click down with my mouse on the pen tool to get the anchor point tool, keyboard shortcut Shift-C, and I'll click with that tool on the left anchor, and Illustrator adds a point. Then I'm going to make a copy of this ellipse. So I'll hold the Option key down and drag it straight down. I'm holding the Shift key down as well so that I stay in the same vertical line. Then with the copy selected, I'll go up to Object, Transform, and Move. And we're not going to make a horizontal move, but we're going to make a vertical move of 0.35, and I'll press Copy. I'll select both of them, and I'll get the Shape Builder tool, keyboard shortcut Shift-W, and then to get rid of these lower two parts I don't want, I'll hold the Option key down and drag across them, and that leaves me with this top piece, which is going to become the gray part of my design. I'll get the selection tool, and we're going to come over and choose a light gray fill and a white 3-point stroke, and then I'll select both of the pieces, come to the Properties panel in the Align area, and click on Vertical Align Top. And that's all there is to creating this part of the design. I'll select both pieces, go up to Object and Group, and then to create the art brush, we need the Brushes panel. I'll go up to Window, down to Brushes, and I've gotten rid of the brushes that come with Illustrator because I don't plan on using any of those. I have my design selected. I'll come to the bottom bar of the Brushes panel and click on the New Brush icon, and I'll choose Art Brush and say OK. We're going to check Scale Proportionately, and then make sure the direction that your art brush is pointing is from the pointed left to the rounded right. And if it's not, go to the direction here and click on that second icon. Then we'll leave everything else the same and say OK. And then I'll drag the Brushes tab over next to the Layers tab to get it out of the way. I don't need this design anymore, so I'm going to delete it. And I'll get the paintbrush tool, and I'm going to drag out the bottom right stroke first. I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out, even though it's not exactly the same as my sample. So I'm going to go ahead and use this for my starting stroke, and I'll come up to Effect, down to Distort and Transform, over and down to Transform, and we're going to apply a transform effect to this to create the left side. So under Move, I'm going to type in -0.35. That's going to end up giving me a copy to the left of this stroke. If I had a positive number, it would do just the opposite. We're going to leave rotation the same. I'll click Reflect X. I'm going to move the little box to the left and change copies to 1 and say OK. So what I end up with is a mirror of the stroke itself separated by 0.35 inches. Now let's get the paintbrush tool again, and we'll draw out the next stroke. And that's looking pretty good. Then get the paintbrush tool and we'll do the last one. I think spacing looks good here. So I'll select all of these and come up to Object and Expand Appearance. Now we have all this as a group. And from this point forward, I can add something in and it's not going to transform it. And I'm going to go to the Layers panel and hide my samples. I'll get the Ellipse tool and we're going to create a circle here. Just going to hold down the Option key to drag from the center and the Shift key to create a perfect circle. And then we'll fill it with black and remove that white stroke. And we're going to come back and get the Anchor Point tool, keyboard shortcut Shift C. This time we're going to click on the top center anchor, then get the Direct Selection tool, come back and click on that anchor again. And I want to drag it straight up, so I'm going to hold the Shift key down as I drag, and that keeps it constrained so I don't drag to the left or to the right. And then space this where it looks like it's centered. I can actually go to the Properties panel and center everything here. Now we're going to create some circles. I'll get the Ellipse tool and click on the artboard to open the Ellipse dialog box. I'm going to type in 0.5 for the width, 0.5 for the height, and say OK. And then we'll scoot it up here where it's centered. And then I'll make another much smaller one, 0.25 and 0.25, and say OK. Let's move it down here, and I want it a little bit lower than this bottom line of my curves. And I want it centered with everything. So let's select it all and center it. Then I'll select the big circle, hold down the Shift key and select the small circle and go up to Object, Blend, Blend Options. I want this to say Specified Steps, so you can choose that. And I'm going to try 6 and say OK. Nothing happened because I've got to go back up to Object, Blend, and this time Make the Blend. And Illustrator gives me 6 dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in between the big one and the small one that I created. If I want to change the number of circles in the blend, I simply select the blend, go back up to Object, choose Blend and Blend Options again, and I can just scroll through. If I want 4 or 5, I think 5 looks pretty good. I'm going to leave it there and say OK. And then I can come up and go Object, Blend, and Expand, and then select all of the design and group it, Object, Group. And then let's just take a look and make sure we have everything the way we want it. I actually think that I could move this down a little bit and select everything and group it, Object, Group. I'll recenter the artboard, Command 0, and then we're going to resize the design, Object, Transform, Scale, and I'm going to change it uniformly at 25% and say OK. Then we'll open the Brushes panel, go down to the bottom bar, click the new brush icon and pattern brush and say OK. I'm going to change the spacing to 2%. That way, Illustrator is going to leave just a little bit of space between each one of the design repeats. I could leave it at 0 if I wanted each of these designs to be right up next to each other, but I like a little space on this particular design. Next, I'll change the colorization method to tints, and that's going to give me the luxury of changing the color of my pattern brush by just changing the color of the stroke. Now I'll hide that sample layer, get the ellipse tool and drag out an ellipse, change the color, go to the brushes panel and click on the art brush, and we want to change the size to 0.5 and click on the artboard to deselect it. And here is our beautiful pattern brush. I absolutely love how this has turned out. If you want to change the color, all you do is select it and come over and change the stroke color. So if we wanted this red for Valentine's Day or green for St. Patrick's Day, that's all that it takes. I do happen to like the black the best, so I'm going to select it and go back to the black. And here is our final design. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this video and learned some things about creating art brushes and pattern brushes and how you can combine them to make some really wonderful projects. Now, I do want to invite you to subscribe to my channel and be sure and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future tutorials, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye now.